Doctor Who story, nothing but plot.
What's the silly promise?
Silly promise is that I sort of promised, but I didn't do it loudly enough that if I reneged and sort of forgot, nobody was going to go, oh, he promised! They'd just go, oh, I thought maybe he was going to do that.
So more like an inference.
It's sort of the difference between sort of, you know, the I swear a mighty oath I shall read. My Doctor Who story to the sort of like, okay, I'll really try and do that. So it's somewhere on the balance.
I can't wait.
So I'm not actually going to read you the whole short story because we will be here long after our curfew if I do. I'm going to read you just a little bit. And I'm going to read you the part of the fun of writing the Doctor Who short story is putting the bits of dialogue in that in TV I would always put in and then I wound up cutting out for reasons of time. So you just can get a little chunk from the story. It went up, it's available as an e-book right now, went up yesterday, and it's also available, I think you can buy it from the UK, I'm not sure if it's out of the US. It's a proper book called 11 Doctors and Other Stories. They were in the TARDIS control room, going home. I still don't understand, Amy was saying. Why were the skeleton people so angry with you in the first place? I thought they wanted to get free from the rule of the Toad King. They weren't angry with me about that, said the young man in the tweed jacket and the bow tie. He pushed a hand impatiently through his hair. I think they were quite pleased to be free, actually. He ran his hands across the TARDIS control panel, patting levers, stroking dials. They were just a bit upset with me because I walked off with their squiggly what's it. Squiggly what's it? It's on the... He gestured vaguely with arms that seemed to be mostly elbows and joints. the tabley thing over there. I confiscated it. Amy looked irritated. She wasn't irritated, but she sometimes liked to give him the impression she was, just to show him who was boss. Why don't you ever call things by their proper names? The tabley thing over there, it's called a table. She walked over to the table. The squiggly what's-it was glittery and elegant. It was the size and general shape of a bracelet, but it twisted in ways that made it hard for the eye to follow. Really? Oh, good. He seemed pleased. I'll remember that. Amy picked up the squiggly what's-it. It was cold and much heavier than it looked. Why did you confiscate it? And why are you saying confiscate anyway? That's like what teachers do when you bring something you shouldn't to school. My friend Nels set a record at school for the number of things she got confiscated. One night she got me and Rory to make a disturbance while she broke into the teacher's supply cupboard, which was where her stuff was. She had to go over the roof and through the teacher's blue window. But the doctor was not interested in Amy's old school friend's exploits. He never was. He said, confiscated for their own safety. Technology they shouldn't have had, probably stolen. Time looper and booster could have made a nasty mess of things. He pulled a lever, and we're here. All change. There was a rhythmic, grinding sound, as if the engines of the universe itself were protesting. A rush of displaced air, and a large blue police box materialized in the back garden of Amy Pond's house. It was the beginning of the second decade, the 21st century. The doctor opened the TARDIS door. Then he said, that's odd. He stood in the doorway, made no attempt to walk outside. Amy came over to him. He put out an arm to prevent her from leaving the TARDIS. It was a perfect sunny day, almost cloudless. What's wrong? Everything. He said, can't you feel it? Amy looked at her garden. It was overgrown and neglected, but then it always happened, as long as she could remember. No, said Amy. And then she said, there's quiet. No cars. No birds. Nothing. No radio waves, said the doctor. Not even Radio 4. You can hear radio waves? Of course not. Nobody can hear radio waves, he said unconvincingly. And that was when a gentle voice said, "Attention visitor, you are now entering kin space. This world is the property of the king. You are trespassing." It was a strange voice, whispering, and mostly, Amy suspected, in her head. "This is Earth," called Amy. "It doesn't belong to you." And then she said, "What have you done with the people?" "We bought it from them. They died out naturally shortly afterwards." It was a pity. "I don't believe you," shouted Amy. No galactic laws were violated. The planet was purchased legally and legitimately. A thorough investigation by the Shadow Proclamation indicated our ownership in full. "It's not yours. Where's Rory?" "Amy? Who are you talking to?" asked the doctor. "The voice, the one in my head. Can you hear it?" "To whom are you talking?" asked the voice. Amy closed the TARDIS door. "Why did you do that?" asked the doctor. "Weird whispery voice in my head said they bought the planet and that the Shadow Proclamation said it was all okay. It told me all the people died out naturally. You couldn't hear it. I didn't know you were here. Element of surprise. Closed the door." Amy Pond could be astonishingly efficient when she was under stress. Right now, she was under stress. But you wouldn't have known it if it wasn't for the squiggly what's-it, which she was holding between her hands and was bending and twisting into shapes that defied the imagination and seemed to be wandering off into peculiar dimensions. Did they say who they were? She thought for a moment. "You are now entering kin space. This world is the property of the king." He said, "Could be anyone." "The king? I mean, it's like calling yourself the people. It's what pretty much every race name means, except the Dalek. That means metal-cased Katie death machines in And then he was running to the control panel. "Something like this can't occur overnight. People don't just die off. And this is 2010, which means they've done something to Rory. It means they've done something to everyone." He pressed several keys on an ancient typewriter keyboard, and patterns flowed across the screen that hung above the TARDIS console. I couldn't hear them, they couldn't hear me. You could hear both of us. Limited telepathic broadcast, but only on human frequencies. Aha! Summer of 1984, that's the divergence point. His hands began turning, twiddling, and pushing levers, pumps, switches, and something small that went ding. "Where's Rory? I want him right now," demanded Amy as the TARDIS lurched away into space and time. The doctor had only briefly met her fiancé, Rory Williams, once before. She didn't think the doctor understood what she saw in Rory. Some days she was not entirely sure what she saw in Rory, but she was certain of this. Nobody took her fiancé away from her. "Good question. Where's Rory? Also, where's 7 billion other people?" "I want my Rory." "Well, wherever the rest of them are, he's there too. And you ought to have been with them. And I guess neither of you were ever born." Amy looked down at herself, checking her feet, her legs, her elbows, her hands. The squiggly what's-it glittered like an Escher nightmare on her wrist. She dropped it onto the control panel. She reached up and grasped the handful of auburn hair. "If I wasn't born, what am I doing here?" "Oh, you're an independent temporal nexus, chronos and classically established as an inverse." He saw her expression and stopped. "You're telling me it's timey-wimey, aren't you?" "Yes," he said seriously, "I suppose I am. Right, we're here." He adjusted his bow tie with precise fingers, tipping it to one side rakishly. "But doctor, the human race didn't die out in 1984. New timeline, it's a paradox. And you're the paradoctor?" "Just the doctor." He adjusted his bow tie back to its earlier alignment and stood up a little straighter. "There's something familiar about all this." "What?" "Don't know." "Kin. I keep thinking of masks. Who wears masks?" "Bank robbers?" "No." "Really ugly people?" "No." masks at Halloween? Yes, they do! He flung his arms wide in delight. So that's important. Not even a little bit, but it's true. Big divergence in time stream, and it's not actually possible to take over a level 5 planet in a way that would satisfy the shadow proclamation unless... Unless what? The doctor stopped moving. He bit his lower lip, then... Oh, they wouldn't. Wouldn't what? They couldn't. I mean, that would be completely... Amy tossed her hair and did her best to keep her temper. Shouting at the doctor never worked, unless it did. Completely what? Completely impossible. You can't take over a level 5 planet unless you do it legitimately. On the TARDIS control panel, something whirled and something else went ding. We're here. It's the Nexus. Come on, let's explore in 1984. You're enjoying this, said Amy. My whole world has been taken over by a mysterious voice. All the people are extinct. Rory's gone, and you're enjoying this. No, I'm not.